Hey artists, welcome back! I'm back from vacation. It's a good day. I don't know what this blouse is supposed to be doing for me. It's kind of weird. Anyways, we're getting into the portfolio of my life. I'm going to try and condense it a little bit. And if not, then we'll have to make it a two-part series. You're just going to have to deal with it. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. We got Trent in the background, Trent Reznor. We'll get to you, buddy, okay? It's not all about you. Anywho, let's get right into it, and I'm going to show you something that I'm very, very proud of. I started thinking about what I was going to do for the first piece, and this one just kept grabbing me. Here we have a portrait of Gerard Way that I did in 2016. I was at the brink of basically trying to learn watercolor, and I was terrified of watercolor. And the reason why was because colored pencil is a very slow medium, and that was kind of my thing at the time, for many years actually. And I was kind of interested in watercolor. I figured it would help me kind of cut back down on production time with my fibro and everything. I invested in faber-castell pencils. I started with the eyes first because that's kind of my thing whenever I'm doing portraits. Is I feel like if you get the eyes down and it looks like the person and you really capture the essence, then everything else kind of falls into place with the face and everything and the structure. So with that being said, I'm going to zoom in so you can see the eyes. Oh, here you go. I loved actually creating all of these deep, rich colors to create the shadows, like purples, and you can see there's some green gold, because he kind of has these sort of hazel green eyes, because sometimes they look a little bit more on the brown side, sometimes they look a little bit more green. This particular hair, let me zoom you out. The hair was actually not done in Albrecht Dürer, it was done with the Caran d'Ache Neo colors. I have to admit that I got really lazy. I was like, I don't want to do hair. I don't want to do hair in pencil. It's too much right now. This is probably one of my favorite pieces that I've ever done. This was one of my pieces that kind of helped me cross over into watercolor itself with those watercolor pencils, and I still use those watercolor pencils to this day. Okay, so I found the second one of this portrait, and the original plan was to have a triptych. And if you don't know what that is, it's like three of the same thing, or three paintings into one painting. Anyways, this one was fun to do, and I liked it even more than the first one, maybe a little bit. This was so much fun to crosshatch and create this sort of like Sin City style, which was not intentional, but somebody, you know, pointed it out to me that was kind of reminded them of Sin City. But it was fun to add the contrast of the color in his eyes with the crosshatching. And I'm going to zoom you in so you can see some of this. Let's do, whoa, no. And so what I did first was I layered pencil, and then I went back in with just a little bit of ink. Oh! Okay. Oh! Okay. Let's see if Jane knows how to work her camera. I also loved using the Pentel Pocket Brush Pen. That, to me, is one of the must-haves if you're going to work with ink, especially. I think comic book artists use it on the go. I talked to Becky Cloonan about that. She was the one that suggested that I use that, or she said this is what I use, and I think it was on Twitter several years ago. Son used the toilet. Thank you for flushing. This is such a mom blouse. 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 It's just one of those words that I do not like. You think this should be sexy? Sexy art portfolio? I'm gonna talk to you real seductively. Sit back and join me. What was that? It's gonna titillate your artistic senses. She's almost 40. She's like a 15-year-old boy inside. Okay. I painted this back in a video with the acrylic ink by Liquitex, and it was the muted collection, and it was a lot of fun to do. So if you want to see that time lapse, I will put a card in the top right hand corner. I was really drawn to that collection. It was a beautiful collection. You can't really see it very good from afar, so I don't know if I can capture that. There we go. Look how shiny those earrings are. Can you see it? I'm not really sure. Anyways, she is awesome. I would love to show you guys the original of this because it was It was 18 by 24. And I created this a few years ago, and this has been done in oil pastel. Most of it was Neocolor, not Neocolor, it was Caran d'Ache Oral. Caran d'Ache Oral. No. Caran d'Ache Oil Pastel. Wow. This particular portrait was sold before I even had it done, which was awesome. It was in a show at the Atomic Cowboy in St. Louis in the Grove area, and this person contacted me on Facebook and he wanted to purchase it right away. So it is in good hands, and I have sold many prints. I love Bowie. I mean, he hasn't not influenced anyone, I think, in the music industry, and he has influenced so many artists just with his fashion and his influence on music and everything that he was important for. And he just seemed like he was such a wonderful man too. I actually was very upset whenever he passed away. So that was kind of my tribute. I'm really happy that I was able to do this, and I should have done it before he even passed away. Here I am, nice and awkward. Come on, bitch. Okay. A nice little graphite piece of Davy Jones and the Monkees. This was his screen test, and he had this cute little hat on. He was just adorable. There was a moment where he laughed, and I really wanted to capture it, so I went and stopped the video, put a screen cap on it, and worked from that. So that was the beginning of 2017. Onward into 2017, we have this one. And this one's called Daydream Believer for obvious reasons. And I did this in another video that you can see with water-soluble graphite, working with that. And it was the Art Graph water-soluble graphite and the liquid pencil set, they were very, very interesting to work with. If you've ever wanted to see what it was like, go ahead and dive into it, because it's an interesting experience as it works like watercolor, but when it dries, it has a more painterly graphite look to it. And then the eyes were done with, I believe that was ink tints, I want to say. And then the background was done in Neocolors, because those were the colors from the Daydream Believer video. I felt like I was just channeling him at that point in time in my life. I'm not really sure why. I just felt very compelled to do a really serious portrait of him. But I really loved the Monkees growing up, and I watched it on Nick at Night and really feeling it and felt very compelled to do a portrait of him. It was a process that unfolded very beautifully. So that's how ideally I'd like my portraiture to be. This is another one that sold as the original, so this is only a print that I can show you, but it was done in, I believe it was watercolor and watercolor pencil. The eyes were done in the Albrecht Dürer by Faber-Castell as well. And you can see this as a time lapse in my review of the Marco Renoir watercolor pencils. Anyway, I really got into Sherlock at that point, and I was in a show in the St. Louis Science Center for their First Fridays, which they're basically every month is a different theme for, a different fandom, and this one was Sherlock. So therefore I created this one and another one that I'm about to show you, but I was really into that show. I was really into the depth of that show. So my girlfriend slash fellow artist slash, I call her my art wife. I have a lovely relationship with a man, but I have an art wife too, and she's just amazing. And so her name is Arlena Holtzman. I promote her all the time on this channel. I really want to get her back on this channel for something very, very special. So let me know in the comments below if you want Arlena back. She was in my St. Louis art supply store, big opening of that store. It was really fun to film with her, and I adore her. So she's done some work of Benedict Cumberbatch too. And I'm going to show you the second one. Okay, where is this along with this? Those were the two pieces from my show. I sold this original to a wonderful friend that I knew way, way back when we went to church whenever I was a kid. And so, hey Sarah, hope you're doing well. Hope Benedict is doing well for you. Hi, Siri. Sometimes it's technology, I'm telling you. So this is also on the channel too as well. I will have some cards. I hope that they're not too annoying popping up and everything, but this was also done in my Why I Love Dr. P.H. Martin's Radiant Watercolor. And I did this in a time lapse, and then I cross-hatched the face It was a lot of fun. I really loved the colors. I added in some salt, if you could tell here at the bottom, and so that's that. So I'm going to display them like this as they are supposed to be displayed. These are a pair of shoes. I found the photo online somewhere and I just fell in love with them. They were that kind of iridescent rainbow fabric, and I was like, yes! I thought I would never probably wear those in real life, but damn, they're awesome. So of course I'm going to paint them and draw them, and this is kind of a painting slash drawing. It was mostly done in Prismacolor pencils at the time, and then the particular areas that have been painted were kind of the darker magenta areas, a little bit of, I believe it was the acrylic gouache here and here, just in the very deep red parts where I really needed a kick and needed that vibrancy and that punch. I do have a time lapse of it somewhere, which I will get for you if you are interested, and I can put it in kind of a compilation or something. They're very old though. They're probably about, this was 2015, so yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really liked it. It took a long time. So as you can see, this is a portrait of the most wonderful Grace Jones. And I did this in part Color Soft by Derwent, which is a color pencil that I think is highly underrated. And I did the rest of this in a watercolor format, but I used I believe it was the Gansai Tambi and the iridescent watercolors that I have by, I'm gonna butcher this again, Bokuwandu. I did a portrait of her as Nefertiti because this was an Egyptian show that I was attending, and I was just really, I love her bone structure. So beautiful. She's just one of a kind, and she's a nice mixture of feminine and masculine at the same time. I think she's just a queen altogether. So if you can see, I'm gonna try and capture that. Ooh, that glow, look at that. Yeah, so her crown had to be, or her headpiece more appropriately, it had to be very, very shiny, very beautiful, very eye-catching. And I used more of a crosshatch method on her face here on black paper. So I'm gonna zoom you in so you can see. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Her lips were so much fun to draw, and I love her cheekbones. She's amazing. Her eyebrows are incredible, and I really enjoyed doing this. It was a lot of fun. I should do another drawing on black paper tutorial. So anyways, that was that. This was from the Holbein Color Pencil Tips and Tricks video. I believe I included it in another video whenever I did her hair, and you can learn how to draw neon colored hair, or not neon colored, but bright pink hair. And all of this was done in Holbein colored pencil. And I had a vision in mind, and I took the actual pose from a still in the Perfect Drug video by 9 Inch Nails. And I thought, yeah, this is it. This was all from my imagination, if you want to call it that. It was basically created from a vision that I had, and that's how a lot of my original pieces really work that aren't portraiture. I had never drawn a human skull before, and that was a lot of fun because even though we tend to think that skulls are white, they're not white. They have sort of a grayish or yellowish cast to them, so I really wanted to work on the depth of that. It actually turned out pretty good for what I was just sort of, going off of in my head. You know what? I kind of look like Scully with this haircut, in this fashion, in the way it's styled. I'm okay with that. Gillian Anderson is beautiful, and I am a huge fan of the X-Files. So this is a print, because I sold the original. Yeah. I knew he was going to sell eventually, I just had a feeling. It's called The Universe in You. I used the fabulous Jensen Ackles, aka Dean Winchester, as my subject matter. It happened to start whenever I was like basically binge watching Supernatural. I thought, you know what, I want to do a crosshatch of his face because he had lovely bone structure and he's so handsome, it's kind of stupid. I mean, it just should be illegal to look that good. But anyways, it's a compliment. And I just kind of experimented. I did a lot of splattering with ink, and then I did this part in gouache. And I have a process photo of that way back on my Instagram if you want to see it. These were from an Oracle card deck, and this one in particular was focused on creative projects. And if you ever take a look at spider webs, they are a work of art. So they're constantly creating their Basically their prey web, but their trap. But it is a beautiful work of art, so I use that as a reference. This was completely from here, and it was done in Caran d'Ache Pablo. I usually have fun while I create. I don't really like to struggle, and I like a challenge, but I don't like to struggle and hate what I'm creating or get frustrated, and because then it's just, you got to walk away from it at that point. And this one was sort of a psychic vision card, and the clouds were done with chalk pastels. Whoops. The nebula area and the clouds and everything from the universe. That was all chalk pastel. The rest of it was from Derwent's drawing color set for like fur and everything for the fur. And then the eyes and the beak, they were done, I believe, with polychromos. So, you know, you have your third eye. Owls are extremely known for being mysterious and psychic in the metaphysical world and the animal spirit world. To be honest, I'm not really sure. I forgot this was the ladybug card, but I'm not sure what it represented. I'm just drawing a blank because I was going off of her descriptions and I was creating the art for the deck. Nice little nautilus there that took forever. That was all done in colored pencil, and all of these are just from my visions. It was a lot of fun to do this though, because, and I know I keep repeating myself and I sound like a broken record, but I mean, the whole experience was just a very joyful one. And that is my Jaguar, and this was really probably my favorite one out of all of them because I was able to dive into some gouache. I used the Caran d'Ache Gouache Studio pans, and that really kind of made me familiar with gouache. I believe that was one of my first gouache paintings. I really love the fact that you can layer white on top of gouache. And this wasn't really so much about blending though. I didn't do a lot of blending, it was just more layering. And I am very, very attracted to the feline animal spirit realm. So we're talking like, you know, jaguars, lions, tigers, cats. I have several of them. I'm not a crazy cat lady. I'm just, one of them adopted me and then the other two I adopted. So that's my excuse. Okay, so this was taken from a black and white photo. I really was into chalk pastels at that time. And I really wanted to do a portrait in nothing but pastels. And so this was done with the Mungyo pastel set, very, very affordable set. And I'll put a link in the description box. It wasn't done with anything fancy. I did spray it down with a fixative so I wouldn't smear it, but for whatever reason, every time I go to touch it, I'm just a little nervous just in case it does transfer. This was a wonderful study in portraiture too, because I hadn't ever created wrinkles before, or crow's feet. Basically, he doesn't have wrinkles, but he's got crow's feet. I just really found the photo to be very beautiful. I was very happy with the way that the ear turned out. And so I'll zoom in a little bit more. I do have this gigantic piece in the background of Trent Reznor. I don't know how I'm going to present this. I think I'll just wing it. Well, I might have to sacrifice focus here for a second so I can get him in focus. He's so blue here so that you can see it up close. This was done in, I believe, 2016 as well. And this is mostly watercolor and a little bit of acrylic at the end here with his birth chart here. I really just wanted to delve into different techniques that I had never done before. I've done the eyes in Albrecht or watercolor pencil. I really wanted that to be very, very detailed. His eyes are very intense. It was a very intense portrait. It was a very intense process. I liked using very different colors for the portrait. I don't know if you can see this, but up here we have basically, this was really, really bright whenever I first did it, and they are not light fast, but I don't keep this in direct sunlight or anything like that. So this was kind of like a more chartreuse over, like on top of blue, light blue. We have the turquoise, the bright turquoise, we have purples, we have yellows, we have greens in here. I would hope that that shows up because I would really love to show you the brilliance of this color here. So I don't mean to be like, oh, the brilliance of my artwork. So from this angle, you can kind of see it's a little bit more on the purple side, has more depth to it in this angle. So you can see exactly where I put the layers and where I made that into the contours of his face. Let me tell you what though, because the watercolor dried lighter than I expected. I had to go over his whiskers about 2 or 3 times. I had to darken them. That was a little bit maddening, actually. So I'll have to give you a close-up of what this looks like, and you can kind of see where the details come in. There's no graceful way for me to present this. Little background on it. I've always really loved 9 Inch Nails from 1994, whenever I was 15 and discovered the Downward Spiral. Overall, I'm a huge fan of his work. I think he was way ahead of his time, basically producing all of the music himself in the studio with multiple instruments and electronics. He's a very interesting man to listen to whenever he's talking about his process, and I just really have had a wonderful time going to the shows. Fragility in 2000 was probably the most intense concert experience, because people don't understand that at the time in 1999/2000 we didn't have live LED boards or anything like that, and that was presented in such a way that was very captivating and just really avant-garde at the time. Very moving experience. Very beautiful aesthetically, the performance of Lemur and The Great Below and all these other wonderful songs from The Fragile. The Fragile is probably my favorite album. In 2013, as a concert photographer, I got to photograph 9 Inch Nails at Lollapalooza 2013 in Chicago, and it was amazing. I think I just really wanted to challenge myself too, because I thought that the photo was fantastic, and I thought, I gotta draw that. You know how it is whenever you see something and you're like, I'm gonna paint that. I'm gonna paint you. I'll paint you. I'm gonna draw you. I drew you. This one's not for sale. This one's not going anywhere. It's just one of those pieces that I can't part with. Well, I hope that you found this fun and interesting. I love you guys, and I hope to see you next time. So keep creating, artists, and yeah, hit the subscribe button if you want to. See you later.